Commissioners, would all those who are willing and able please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of our country.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Grant us, O Lord, light to our understanding, prudence in our investigating, foresight in our planning, sincerity in our deliberating, the grace to follow truth in our judgment. Help us to be moved in our decision, neither by fear nor by self-interest, and to do our work faithfully. May we respect the authority vested in us, for thou art the source of all authority, and may use in our directives for the common good, and for thy honor and glory. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Young.
Here.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Present.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Here. Okay, we have before us the meeting minutes for the regular meetings of March 24, 2022 and March 31, 2022. Do I have a motion to approve same, waiving the reading thereof?
So moved. Second.
Discussion? None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Young.
Here.
Commissioner
Yes.
Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes. Very good. Okay, this brings us to our first public comment portion of our meeting. Is there anyone wishing to address the board at this time? Sir.
Good morning, Commissioners. Brian Massey, 8196 Rainbow Drive. I have several items, but I'll just take one at the first session. There's a Willoughby resident that has been following the payment of the overpayment property taxes by the Treasurer's office, and he sent me an email, and I followed up with Treasurer Zern. To date, the Treasurer's office has distributed $271,135.87 back to taxpayers. If you remember, that was the unclaimed funds for the overpayment of property taxes that we found last year. $0 have been returned to the county general fund as of September, and there's $0 have been added to the fund since September 2021. So we're not accumulating more unpaid or unclaimed property taxes. The current fund balance is $5,052,545.61. Now, I appreciate Treasurer Zern's efforts to return this money to the taxpayers, but it is painfully slow. I did meet with Treasurer Zern, and he did say that they have finished 2016, 17, and 18. They have completed those years, and not in addition to the $271 that has been distributed back to the taxpayers, $300,000 cannot be identified who it belongs to and will be going to the general fund. This is approximately, the $500,000 or so is approximately 10.7% of the original $5.3 million. My concern is that it is going to take an exceedingly long period of time, years at this rate to get the money back to the taxpayers. And I asked Treasurer Zern if he could justify a temporary worker, be it full-time or part-time, and he said yes. If he had a full-time worker, we certainly can expedite the distribution back to the taxpayers. After, as I understand it, after 2015, it's not as easy to find the money because it is all manually going through the records. But I'm just here to ask the commissioners, perhaps work with Treasurer Zern to see if we can get that money back to the taxpayers on a more expeditious fashion. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Question.
Sir.
Brian. I'm sorry.
Excuse me, Commissioner Young.
Scoot? What?
Excuse me.
Are you offering your services to go down there and work with
I did that when I did that when Lorraine Fendi was the treasurer, but I don't think anybody wants Brian Massey, getting into anybody's books. So, but I offer that to.
Is that what you're offering?
I've offered that as a community service, and I'd be glad to do that if they deem it appropriate. My background is, I had a CPA certificate, and I do know how to make the numbers talk. Thank you for asking.
Thank you.
Anything
for answering.
Okay, is there anyone else wishing to address? Yes. Treasurer Zern. Welcome, sir.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, and thank you, Mr. Massey, for summarizing the efforts in the Treasurer's Office to return the surplus money. The numbers that he quoted are just from a few days ago, which are accurate. We have been working very hard to return the money. Some of the money is $1,200 in overpayment. Some of the money is $1 in overpayment. So $271,000 is a significant amount of homeowners that we've researched. I have already requested a temporary employee for another effort that I have talked to numerous elected officials about, and that is for delinquencies. We had $7.9 million in delinquencies in the last tax collection. Out of all the money we collected about $250 million in property taxes in February. And I have reached out to multiple larger counties in Ohio and tried to identify what they're doing to collect more money for the county. And I've also contacted Treasurer Sprague's office and Lifeline, and I've tried to really focus in on grants that are available to help homeowners. So the temporary employee that I've talked to the commissioners about in the past could focus on delinquencies and also on the surplus account. One thing that we've changed about 2 weeks ago, I talked to the Franklin County Treasurer, and we focused in on mortgages that were paid off since the last tax bill. So we're able to identify 166 homeowners who paid off their taxes paid off their mortgage since the last tax bill. We sent out a letter. This is the first time this has happened in Lake County that I am aware of. So it's the first time this has happened. Out of the 166 letters, we received a 50% response rate. We collected $81,000 in the first week, and we have a commitment from the mortgage company that held the last tax payment for $70,000. So we have roughly $150,000 that we identified just through one small effort, and that's why this temporary employee would be such a great asset to the county. We could collect more of the taxes that are defaulted, identify new programs that other counties are doing, and work with the different various grants that are out there. If they don't have the ability to pay their taxes, we could at least assist them to bring them current and make sure they're able to keep their house. So I want to thank Mr. Massey, but I think a temporary employee could do both, can build this program to help defaulted homeowners catch up on their taxes and also really whittle down this surplus account. So, thank you.
Very good. Treasurer Zern, while you're there, one of the things though that we have been talking about is this effort to potentially hire a part-time employee would not be impacting the general fund. As you said, you're looking for grant funds, we're looking for alternate sources of how to fund this. So rest assured, we're not going to be spending money to find money. So just that might be an overly simplified way to say that, but I think it's worth emphasizing that. So we appreciate the efforts that's going into this. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Anyone else wishing to address the board? Jennifer, I see we have Craig with us. Would this be the right?
Yeah,
time?
that would be great.
There you go. Craig, that's kind of the heads up to get ready. You're about to be praised here. So as long as we're in the public comment portion, we have with us Craig Berry. He is the most recent recipient of the, and I hope I don't mispronounce this, Vince Polito Executive Leadership Award. A little bit of background on this is this award is presented to a probation or community corrections executive who has performed their duties in an outstanding manner and or made significant contributions to the respective probation community, corrections profession at the local, regional, or state level. The recipient may also have brought credit or honor to the profession through their participation or involvement in community activities or programs, This is an executive leadership award for those probation chiefs who are currently or have been actively involved in the probation management leadership. Craig, I think you hit all those points, but do you want to come on up, or is there anyone wishing to speak on Craig's behalf and comment on any of this? Craig's got that smile going with like, gee, thanks, John. Come on up. This is actually a really cool thing.
So I'm kind of embarrassed. It's more of a team approach. I've been honored to work with a great staff, great efforts from the sheriff's office, the judges, the commissioner's office. So it's an honor to receive this award, but it's really a team effort award that allowed me to get to this point.
And that's a very true statement. And you do exemplify working in a team setting. I can give a most recent example, and we're going to be talking about this, the jail replacement project. Your leadership and participation has absolutely been exemplary and a key mover in keeping things on track and making sure that we have a obsolescence immune facility. I think I'm kind of adopting that philosophy. We want to be able to serve our community for the next 50 years. And you're a key player in a lot of areas that go unseen. Do we want to bring some of that team up here? I see a lot of uniforms in the office here. Commissioner Plechik would never let us not have a photo up here. So, what do you think? We got your plaque here.
Sure.
Jennifer, you cool with that? Thank you. Always get Jennifer's permission first. Look at all these uniforms there.
Nobody's standing up.
Come on over here. Wow, this is too funny. The sheriff's taking the picture.
I'll get on his thing. Commissioner, could you move in just a bit?
Stop it right here.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, if there's... Oh, Sheriff.
I do want to congratulate Craig on that award. It's a really demanding job doing probation today. A lot of people who have violated the law come through our probation office. It can be frustrating tracking them in terms of getting them the right services, whether that's drug and alcohol treatment, mental health treatment, getting them jobs, getting them connected with the community, and then tracking all that. And so it's a very large part of the criminal justice system, and Craig has done an exceptional job in leading Lake County in that. And not only leading that, but leading the Community Corrections Board as to where the justice system needs to be moving. So congratulations to Craig.
Well said, sir. Thank you. Anyone else wishing to address the board at this time? Seeing none. If there's not an objection, I would like to move items 14 and 15 up to the front of the line. We do have a number of guests with us here today. Jennifer, if you would, please.
And special resolutions, resolution proclaiming the week of April 10th through the 16th, 2022, National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
Mr. President, I would just say that Lake County takes the work of safety telecommunicators particularly seriously. It's often referred to as the position as dispatch officer, dispatch for those who might not be familiar with the terminology, but these are the folks who get on the phone at the worst possible moment and tell you what needs to be done walk you through, talk you through, and make sure that our first responders get there as quickly as humanly possible. And a lot of lives are saved because of that great work. Lake County has, I believe, the best dispatch center in all of Ohio. It's taken an enormous amount of work to build that team in the Sheriff's Department, and it's continued to deliver incredible service to my community in Willoughby Hills and all across Lake County. So we're very serious about supporting the dispatch center here in Lake County, and we've done so even at the front end by sponsoring through the county scholarships at Auburn Career Center to help train new dispatchers, because we recognize that we need to keep that pipeline going so that we can keep Lake County safe. So when we proclaim this Telecommunicators, Public Safety Telecommunicators Week, it is a commemoration of the work of our dispatch center, our sheriff's office, and our county's continued commitment to making sure that we have the absolute best public safety system in the country.
Very good, and it is fair to say that when you dial 911, it is the person on the end of that phone who arguably could be first on scene. The instructions and the activities that take place are critical to a successful outcome. Sheriff, I believe you wish to add, and perhaps Dan, the telecommunicators, there's an old saying in law enforcement, if your dispatcher doesn't know where you are, you better pray God does. Always keep your dispatcher informed. So, Sheriff.
Oh, I think Telecommunicators Week is very critical. Last year, we received through our communication center, which handles 20 police and fire agencies and all 911 calls for the county, 150,000 calls came in through our communications just for 911 traffic. Additional to that, if you include those, about 335,000 calls were handled through our communication center in 21. It's a key element of not only responding to a 911 call, but getting fire service there when needed, getting police when needed. It is also a matter of getting rescue units to a location and doing that rather quickly. There are requirements, so many seconds, not minutes, so many seconds to get a call out and get people moving in the right directions. Recently I attended the Lake County Blue Coats Awards dinner, and a Mentor dispatcher spoke there. And he really told from the perspective, you handle these calls, you handle somebody who's not breathing and you have to talk somebody through CPR. You handle somebody from an accident or somebody's house is being robbed and there's somebody in their house and they're panicking, and you have to keep them calm. You have to talk them through CPR and do all those things. And then you hang up the phone and you go right to the next call because there's 335,000 calls coming in. And you never hear the end of the call. And so a lot of times you take those pressures home with you. You take wondering, did that baby make it? Did that lady make it? Did that man make it? Did that family get out of the house from that fire? And you don't get those results. And so you're always carrying those. And there are great stressors in that job. I think that people need to realize the impact that communications workers make in the community and the resulting things that they have to deal with. And it's not only the Lake County Sheriff's Office. We have dispatch centers in Mentor. We have one in the Madison Police Department, Mentor Police Department, Willoughby Police Department. So there are dispatch centers throughout Lake County that handle these calls. And this week highlights not only the Lake County Sheriff's Office Dispatch Center, but all Lake County dispatch centers working for our community.
Well said, and if I could just add to what you're saying, one of the things we like to talk about are best practices. Our dispatchers, our telecommunicators, when they get a 911 call that comes in by a cell phone, again, countywide, they stay on the line with that person as they transfer them to the appropriate dispatch center, to the appropriate authority to respond. It's not just a 911, please hold. that is a standard that is being worked on and not always adopted throughout the state and other parts of the country. So I give high praise to the dedication that goes into the effort that's there. That's very intensive, and that gives that comfort and that assurity to the person on the other end of that phone that they are being well taken care of. I'm going to keep pushing. Dan, did you want to come up and say anything here? You got... I figure you're the new guy in charge out there. You can't...
Not much of a public speaker, but I want to take a little opportunity here. So thank you for recognizing the dispatchers and everything that they do. I spent 25 years of my career on the road, picking up the radio, talking to these ladies and gentlemen at dispatch and having no clue as to really what went on behind the scenes. So to take over there 6, 7, 8 months ago and actually see the behind the scenes workings and realize that the ridiculous things that I was calling on the phone for that I needed them to do for me were so petty compared to everything that goes on in that room. I mean, they work nonstop and they're dedicated to everything they do and to the citizens of the community. So it's really humbling, and I'm very proud to be up there and doing what I'm doing and getting the behind the scenes look of everything that happens.
Well said. Gentlemen, anything for Dan?
I'd like to, well, not for Dan, but great job, Dan.
Thank you.
Oh, don't run too far. Don't run too far now. Hold on.
I'd be remiss if I didn't say a little something here. We have a good friend who's a dispatcher, and I've learned through her in particular that that job is so broad in scope. I mean, she acts not just as someone who reassures someone they were right in making the call that a law has been violated, for instance. Not just referring them to somewhere they can get immediate professional support and help, but in many cases she acts as a counselor and psychologist for folks who are going through some sort of psychological turmoil at that moment in time, and they need a word, just a word or two, well-chosen word at that point. So the job involves knowledge of the law, thorough knowledge of the infrastructure in Lake County, who they can reach, who's accessible to help solve their problem, but also a sensitivity and empathy for people that is needed almost on a daily basis. So there's so much involved in what they do, and yet the pay is not spectacular, to say the least. So these are people that in many ways are giving of themselves and their time to the community because they love to serve. So it's really an honor for me to be able to be part of this ceremony this morning. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Pleshnik?
Well, I would just invite the new head of dispatch to come up and receive our proclamation of Public Safety Telecommunicators Week.
There you go. Thank you.
Step over here. Photographer's booth. Oh yeah, right here.
Thank you, Sheriff. Congratulations. Everyone in office. Thank you, Chief.
So you were away
Yay.
when they was playing.
Okay, item 15, please.
Oh, I'll do roll.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Oops.
Commissioner Young,
Yes.
Commissioner Plechnik,
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes. It's
Resolu-
official now.
It is. Resolution proclaiming the week of April 3rd through the 9th, 2022, National Library Week in Lake County, Ohio.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
Mr. President,
Yes, sir.
my first role in public service, and I'm very honored that I had the chance to serve as the Willoughby Hills Library Trustee for the Willoughby East Lake Public Library System. So I got to see firsthand the hard work of our librarians, our staff, in serving the public in so many diverse and important ways. Our president at the board at the time, still a trustee, Jeff Mackey, was passionate about using the libraries as a way to have on-the-job training, to give single mothers access to the internet with hotspots, to make sure that kids who couldn't afford to go to Redbox could have free movies that they could watch. He understood that a library in many ways is the window to the world for families that can't afford or find another outlet. But even for the most fortunate, libraries give so many pleasant memories, great opportunities, and shared experiences in our community that bring us all together. So my respect for libraries and my gratitude to them was always high, but getting to see firsthand the sacrifices that our library directors, librarians, and staff made so that we had a perfect experience as families and community members, it just reinforced to me how important it is to support our libraries. So when I saw that Willoughby East Lake was celebrating National Library Week, I said all of Lake County needs to celebrate National Library Week together. And even though it was last minute, we have practically every library in Lake County represented here today, which really shows your passion and dedication to spreading the word about the wonderful services that you have to and always offer our community. So let me just say on behalf of the Lake County Commissioners, we love you and we thank you.
Well said. If I could just add to that, the level of relevancy that libraries have maintained. I grew up in a time when there was no such thing as the internet, and libraries were the place to go. You've maintained, again, relevancy in our communities. You've adapted to the needs of our communities. Lake County really exemplifies that. And again, I keep talking about other parts of the state. We really are leaders, and that's because of what you are doing. And for that, we thank you. Commissioner Young?
Well, I've worked with the libraries, supported them as a state legislator, and support them now as commissioner. And the reason I did that is because simply that, as Commissioner Plesnik said, a window to the world. And so many people, I have friends that don't have computers. They don't have computers. And they use the library as a place where they can send emails and be involved in the community and conduct business. And just one example of just the relevancy, as Commissioner Hammercheck was mentioning, the relevancies of libraries today. So to many people, it's a gathering place. It's a place where they can go and be and feel a part of the community, and at the same time be exposed to a world of knowledge and appreciation for knowledge that they don't often see in other parts of our culture today. There's a real appreciation and elevation of, well, civilization, if you will. You know, the history of our people, all peoples, and where they fit into the vast scheme of things that you don't always get in watching network television. So the service you provide is huge to the community and to our future. So it's a pleasure to be part of this today. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, if there's no further discussion, I'll call the roll call so I don't forget to do it. Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Young,
Yes.
Commissioner Plechnik,
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes. And we may set a new record for this commissioner's office. You'd all care to come up and join us. We're either going to have to stagger the line or do something panoramic here, so. Sneak in behind you. Please do. There we go. Yay!
One, two. Thank you. Congratulations. We're very proud for Carvo.
I think,
Thank you for being here. Good to thank you again.
okay, this is a little bit nicer one, so if, I don't know if you want to keep that and get rid of the other one. But and I also have a news release that I can email you if you want to send it out to everybody, or we can send it. You're welcome.
Okay, that was the fun part of the job. Now, moving on with the regularly scheduled part of the agenda.
In the engineer's office. Resolution authorizing change order number 4 for the LAK Madison Avenue, County Road 306, resurfacing project with Carvo Companies Incorporated in the amount of $28,177.58, PID number 112490, federal aid number FAN E200-649, OPWC number DGX05, LCE project number 2019-022.
And I second with gusto.
Well
And
said.
Engineer, I'm sure since this is one of the examples of you're not only having to be an engineer, diplomat, financier, I think we could just keep adding adjectives to this.
Yeah, between adding adjectives and the extreme number of numbers, it works out pretty wild. This is the final balance change order for this particular project. Everything has been negotiated out, agreed to, and whatever. So this is the end of the line finally for this particular project. And so far, the wall is standing still.
Well, now that's probably the biggest understatement of the day. That was...
Well, it tried not to.
Yeah, we learned all kinds of new terms, soldier pile, soldier wall. My goodness, it was quite the journey.
Well, it was very interesting, let's put it that way. In this light, we are working with the Corps of Engineers through a program that they have to really look at the rest of the wall and replace those areas or completely replace the rest of the wall, depending on what we find. So we're waiting on them to make up their mind as to whether or not they're going to allow us to participate. So there will be a lot more. This wall is old and has been in service a long time, good service, but it has reached that point where we are going to have to do something, and it's a very large project.
Well, thank you to you and to your team. Gentlemen, anything further for our engineer?
Mr. President, I would just say this has been a long time coming, and when our engineer says he's going to build a wall, he builds it.
Thank you. All right, if there's nothing further, Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Young,
Yes.
Commissioner Plechnik,
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
In the Utilities Department, resolution authorizing advertising for bids for lawn maintenance service for the Lake County Department of Utilities, bid opening April 27, 2022.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Young,
Yes.
Commissioner Plechnik,
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Resolution certifying unpaid water and sewer sums and administrative charges to the Lake County Auditor.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Young,
Yes.
Commissioner Plechnik,
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
In the Commissioner's Office, resolution authorizing accepting the recommendation from Lake Development Authority and approving the contract for a lakeshore improvement project in Madison Township, Ohio.
Move to approve.
Second?
Discussion? Jason, do you want to add anything to this?
Hey, good morning, Commissioners. The resolution in front of you is a kind of a collaborative effort with the Madison Township trustees on addressing a hillside erosion issue at Stanton Park and off of Chapel Road in Madison Township. The Development Authority in the township is in the process or has completed using some older transportation funds to help address a significant erosion, almost a bluff environment at Stanton Park over the past year or so. Mother Nature is showing her force again, and this collaboration with our Lakeshore Improvement Fund, which is geared toward these, will help address some of the issues in the project. We spoke with the trustees and the Port Authority, the Development Authority, a number of months ago, as we had $0 in this project, and if they needed some assistance from the fund that is established to do so, please contact us. Work with the Port Authority to put the documents in front of you today, and then we'll get those dollars to the Port Authority to help with the solution on site. Thank you.
And if I could just add, one of the reasons we're getting involved is it was brought to our attention that there was a safety hazard that was forming there quickly. So in order to stabilize and make it safe for people using the park or going through that area, this was critical in order to make this happen. So I think that should also be entered into the discussion.
Well said. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Gentlemen, is there anything else? All right. None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Young,
Yes.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Resolution authorizing the Lake County Administrator to negotiate and execute a professional design services contract with HOK in accordance with the request for qualifications approved November 18th, 2021.
Move to approve?
Second.
Discussion. Jason, again, would you care to add?
Well, thank you, Commissioner. This resolution is a very important resolution and represents about a decade of planning, engineering, analysis, sleepless nights on the future direction of the Lake County Sheriff's Office and Public Safety Center. And I know the sheriff is here, and I'm sure the commissioners have some comments. So I would just like to set the stage of how we got here today. Doing a little research, I took the administrator's position in the summer of 2012. And my first email was November 1st of 2012 from our former Buildings and Grounds Director, Chuck Clough, and at the time, Chief Deputy Leon Bruno, talking about the jail, the sheriff's office, capital maintenance, and so on. So we're pushing the 10-year mark since my initial correspondence regarding the future of the facility. That being said, we spent the better part of this past decade, or this past 10 years, taking a hard look of what the facility looks like, its condition inside, outside, the capabilities within the facility as far as the movement of inmates. I've learned a ton from the sheriff and Captain Brooks, Chief Sherwood, and so on. To the point this current set of commissioners, along with the sheriff's guidance, asked us to let's take this to the next step. And by that meaning, we published a request for proposals November 19th of 2021 for design firms for the programming phase of a sheriff's office and a Lake County Public Safety Center. On November 29th, we had a pre-application conference in this room for potential firms to hear a little bit about the vision that we have here in Lake County. We received 4 excellent submittals. We formed a selection committee, and I really want to thank the selection committee. I noted them last week. The 3 county commissioners, the sheriff, Frank Leon Bruno, Captain Brooks in corrections, representing the courts, Chief Barry, myself, our telecommunications director, Paul Stefanko, and our buildings and grounds superintendent, Mark Ifelice, and also County Engineer Gills provided engineering assistance as we worked through the interview process. So we all reviewed the written submittals of the 4 firms throughout December into January, decided to bring all 4 firms in for interviews. We had our first set of interviews on February 22nd and 23rd, and as I noted last week, we spent the better part of 2.5 to 3 hours with each firm. really getting in the weeds on their vision, their capabilities, their skill sets, their partnerships, timelines, excellent conversations. We spent a few weeks reviewing. We scored those 4 firms. The committee scored those 4 firms independently and submitted those to me. Went down to 2 final firms with HOK and DLR as the finalist. We held round 2 interviews on March 23rd and 24th. Once again, spent approximately 2 to 2.5 hours with each firm, concentrating on sites, timelines, and methodology, and more of a conversation-based approach. Once again, after those 2 interviews concluded, the selection committee once again independently scored 1 and 2, those 2 firms, to get us to where we are today, with the recommendation from the selection committee to the Board of Commissioners to enter into contract negotiations with HOK for the programming phase of the Lake County Public Safety Center. The programming phase is the first step in any project of this scale, and probably the most important step, wherein their team is going to be with our team, and that team is comprehensive. Not only the sheriff's office, the courts, the public defender, the county prosecutor, corrections, adult probations, to name a few. Well, we are going to nail down every square inch of need for the next 50 to 60 years and develop the program of what this will look like. The important part of the program is that it'll begin to give us rough order of magnitude of costs in the near term. That'll be important for the commissioners, for Finance Director Madison to begin to outline the finance strategy should we move forward. Upon the completion of the programming phase, there's the option for the commissioners to exercise to go to Criteria Architectural Services. In short, is where blueprints start to be established, if you will. So today's recommendation from the selection committee is to proceed with contract negotiations with HOK for the proposed Lake County Public Safety Center. I'm happy to answer any questions or bring up the sheriff and his team.
Well, if I could just say, I think I started the ball off with thanking Chief Barry for his participation in the insights. I'd also like to say that it was a pleasure working at each step with Sheriff Liam Bruno, his career coming up through the ranks, being jail administrator, chief deputy, now sheriff. Cynthia Brooks, again, career, dedicated, nationally recognized this year as our nation's best administrator. I will say, Chief Sherwood, I'm thinking, boy, that's a pretty tough group to be shining with, but yet he impressed, I think, not only myself, but I'm going to hopefully speak for my colleagues, talking about the application for the sheriff's office and facility security and how you can manage flow and activities. That was insightful and impressive. I got to know him better. You know, he's not just that ambassador. He's that guy that, you know, when the rubber meets the road, he was talking the talk. Our telecommunications director, Paul Stefanko, the insights. I can remember the day when the telecommunications department was brought in to address the issues with that building when we were taking possession of it. I've said it before, I'll say it again. That building that we currently have was obsolete the day the county took possession of it. I'm glad that Paul Stefanko is here, and I'm glad that he and his team are right there now checking off the boxes of the things that need to be addressed. Mark Felice, our Buildings and Grounds Director, his insights, I'm impressed. As I come to know people in new roles, it's impressive. And just the overall support from the Corrections Board, we have a few members there of the insights and the thoughts. The level of support, unanimous to proceed. Mm-hmm. And the fact that we're doing things in a very respectful, thoughtful way where there's logical breakpoints. Okay, we've now reached a decision point. We've now reached a decision point. These milestones, if you will. And I have to give you credit, Jason, for managing all of that. It's not easy. I give you high praise. I watched what you did with this facility, the county administration building. This replacement project is this building on steroids.
Yeah,
putting the people together. I see you being respectful, diligent, and getting it done. So for that I say thank you, and I thank my colleagues for taking this so seriously, and their input means a great deal.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, any praise you want to heap upon this young man? He's
Well,
itching to talk here.
I appreciate that. I should note one of the most important parts of the process occurred last week, where we did conduct a public hearing of the committee in an open forum to discuss thoughts, pros, cons of the two finalist firms. I apologize for not mentioning that. So we had the 2 interviews, and then we did have a public workshop last Thursday, March 31st, I believe it was. At 9 a.m. in this room. So thank you, and my comments are, I am done. If you would like me to retreat for the county sheriff, I know he's not shy from the microphone.
Gentlemen, while the sheriff's on his way up, anything for Jason?
Mr. President,
Sir.
I would just say everything we do as a community hinges on safety. Libraries are important. Businesses pay the bills. We live here in our homes, but no one wants to be in an unsafe community. Businesses, residents, they won't come to a county, a city, a community unless they know they're safe. And I just want to give a short personal story from my hometown, Willoughby Hills. One of our big challenges was trying to bring business back to what some folks still call the old Loman's Plaza. Loman's hasn't been there for decades, but is the shops of Willoughby Hills. And we had a lot of challenge in trying to bring business back there. But we were able to form a partnership with Scott Scheel, the owner of the plaza, to provide a rent-free, decade-long lease of the old First Merit Bank building, then vacant, to open a second police station in that plaza. And it wasn't long thereafter that business after business after business came back to the shops at Willoughby Hills. We have to remember that safety is fundamental to everything we do, and the work that we're doing in the new public safety center, the new sheriff's office, the new jail, is fundamental to safety in Lake County. Communities that support their police are safe communities that people want to live, work, play, and retire in, that businesses want to open in, and those communities thrive and prosper. So I view the work we're doing now in the new public safety center as the single most important project in Lake County, because everything else we do hinges on having a safe community. We have the best sheriff's office. We have the best deputies, but they need the support and the facilities required to do that job well for us. And ultimately, I think that the work that everyone has contributed today, both from our sheriff's department, as President Hamercheck noted, as well as the judges, their representative Craig Berry, our staff here in Lake County from Buildings and Grounds and Telecommunications, it's all about supporting our sheriff's office to keep our community safe so that the great things that everyone else does can keep on going.
Right. Well said.
Christian, anything, sir?
Yeah, I'd like to say something. What drove me to supporting this, I think, is the fact that I've recognized in the sheriff and my colleagues and the staff at the jail a recognition of the needs of our people. You know, 21st century America is much different than the America I grew up in. Back then, the biggest problem that we faced in reference to public safety was automobile accidents. It used to cost us, I think some of the numbers back then, I'm talking mid-1960s, dating myself here. I think, as I recall, I think it was around 3,000 per year or something. How unthinkable that number was, people dying on the highways. Now we're talking 100,000 people dying per year just from opioid overdoses. And what, 40 or 50 some thousand due to suicides. Families falling apart, young men growing up without fathers. Our society has changed dramatically to the point where I understand a huge percentage of our jail are folks that need to firstly be detoxed before they can even begin to recognize who they are as a human being and at least start on a pathway to try to begin to become the human being that can make a difference and be productive in society, so on and so forth. So the function of our jails has changed dramatically given the needs of society. And I think that's recognized here in Lake County. Also, I've recognized that with all this new federal money coming in, we actually can build a jail. So that's important in this consideration. Very important. So those are some of the factors that have gone into my support for this initiative to at least get this design work done where we can get a real number as far as what the cost of the building is going to be before we can move forward at that point, or not move forward at that point with the final stages of actually building the building. So it's been a long and twisting pathway for me. The treatment element was extremely important. It'd be crazy for us to just build a new incarceration center and not consider the treatment element, which I don't believe we're doing, and I don't believe we ever intended to do. I think we've moved far beyond that in Lake County, realizing that the real need now is to help these folks who are in trouble and incarcerated, help them create a better future for themselves. And I think that's recognized, and I'm proud to support today's initiative. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Sheriff, anything you want to add, sir?
Speaking on behalf of Chief Sherwood, Chief Deputy, Jail Administrator, Captain Cynthia Brooks, and all the Lake County Sheriff's Office, we encourage the adoption of this resolution today. It's a critical step in determining where the jail operations will go into the future for the next 50 years. Some have referred to it as Franklin and Bruno's pet project, and it's not. It is a study that has been going on now for, as Mr. Boyd said, who incidentally isn't afraid to talk either, but has been going on for more than 10 years and longer than that. Really initiated way back when by Sheriff Dunlap, who said we need to have a study of our building. And that study, we had studies done in 2014, 2019. We've had people come in since then to look at it, not only the physical structure, which they found is beyond just small repairs, but also in terms of where's corrections heading in the future in terms of mental health. Commissioner Young talked about drug addiction, growing seriousness of probation violators, and all of those various aspects. This is a critical step, and it's an important step, and takes courage to do today by the Lake County Commissioners. But we have been told if we don't take action, it costs the county about $500,000 a month in future costs. Not only the cost of the facility, cost of material, but cost of labor and the availability of labor. Cuyahoga County is looking at a large jail project. The Cleveland Clinic is building a large hospital facility. There are a number of construction projects that are going to go on over the next 5 years in Northeast Ohio. And there's only so many laborers available for those projects. And so there's going to be a demand on such labor. If we're going to move on this project, to delay any movement on this project will be costly for the citizens here in Lake County. It's a big jail project. It will be the largest financial undertaking by the county. So it takes courage to do that, and I believe we have a well-based thought going into this. We've done the research, and I believe this is a critical part to take today to move this project forward. Thank you.
Indeed. Thank you, sir. Okay, if there's nothing further, Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Young,
Yes.
Commissioner Plechnik,
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes, thank you.
Resolution authorizing the execution of an agreement between Nearmap US Incorporated and the Lake County Board of Commissioners on behalf of the Lake County Auditor's Office for current pictometry services for the 2024 sexennial appraisal in the amount of $113,400.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Young,
Yes.
Commissioner Plechnik,
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Resolution authorizing the Lake County Administrator to execute an agreement for excess workers' compensation and employers' liability insurance with USI Insurance Services, agent for Midwest Employers Casualty Company, effective April 1st, 2022 through April 1st, 2023.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Young,
Yes.
Commissioner Plechnik,
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Resolution fixing the compensation for petit and grand jurors at $25 per day for jury service in the Lake County Court of Common Pleas.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion?
Mr. President,
Sir.
this comes on motion of our judges in the Court of Common Pleas. They, as well as we, recognize that the service of jurors are absolutely critical to the administration of justice in Lake County. And even with this small increase to $25, this is certainly not sufficient compensation to our jurors. It's only a thank you for the service that they're giving to their community. So I hope that this gesture on behalf of the County Commission and the judges demonstrates how grateful we are to everyone who serves their community as a juror. It's not an easy job, and it's an absolutely critical one for our criminal justice and our civil justice system to function.
Thank you, sir. Anything further? None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Young,
Yes.
Commissioner Plechnik,
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Resolution to join with the Lake County Prosecuting Attorney to apply to the Lake County Court of Common Pleas pursuant to Revised Code 305.14A to employ and compensate legal counsel to advise and represent the Lake County Clerk of Courts, Faith Andrews, regarding any disputes arising between the Clerk of Courts and the judges of the General Division or Domestic Relations Division of the Lake County Common Pleas Court concerning the conduct of the Clerk of Courts and the operations of the Clerk's office.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? Legal, did you want to comment?
Yes, Commissioner. Prosecuting attorney by statute is legal counsel to all officials, elected officials, boards throughout the county. Right now, apparently, there is a dispute between the judges of the Common Pleas Court, General Division, and Domestic Relations Division, and the dispute is between those judges and Clerk of Court, Faith Andrews. Our office represents the judges, our office represents Ms. Andrews. That being the case, we have a conflict, and we are unable to, because of the conflict, give any advice and counsel to either the judges on the dispute at hand or Ms. Andrews. Ms. Andrews has requested this counsel. Specifically, she requested the Porter Wright firm, and there's two attorneys here today from that firm, Mr. Edward Searby as well as Mr. Kevin Kelly, and we did have discussions with them. Mr. Colson was part of the discussion, and the revised code does provide or have a provision for situations like this where the prosecutor is either conflicted out or another issue, then an application has to be filed with the Court of Common Pleas, and that application has to be joined in by the prosecutor and the Board of Commissioners. So that's specifically what we are requesting to be done here today. I think it's important that this resolution gets passed, and it's my hope that perhaps this would go towards resolving any dispute between the Common Pleas Court and the Clerk of Courts. The law is clear. Common Pleas judges are in charge of the administration of justice. It's imperative that they are able to do that. Any disputes regarding that have to be resolved so the administration of justice can proceed. While the Clerk of Courts is an elected position, that individual, quite frankly, is in many ways ministerial with regard to the duties. So, that being the case, it is our recommendation that this board pass this resolution.
Thank you, sir. Given the unique nature of this resolution, and hopefully without objection from my colleagues, given that we have 2 representatives in attendance, is there anything you want to add to the discussion, or are you satisfied with what you're hearing? Thank you, sir.
Good day. Very briefly.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
We agree with the prosecutor's office.
Your name for the record, sir?
Yes, sir. Edmund Searby, Porter Wright. With me is Kevin Kelly from Porter Wright. We agree with the prosecutor's office that there is a conflict here and this situation warrants independent counsel. We are experienced in other matters as special counsel for the state of Ohio, and our goal here would be to resolve this dispute as efficiently as possible.
Very good. Thank you, sir. Sir.
I just want to make it clear also, and I think Mr. Searby will acknowledge this, the Lake County Prosecutor is still statutory counsel to Clerk of Courts Andrews with regard to issues other than this dispute.
Very good. Gentlemen,
I
anything
had a
else?
question for Mr. Searby, if I could. You said you're special counsel to the state of Ohio in some cases?
In the past, not at the current time, sir.
Okay, what were some of those cases where you were acted as special counsel?
One, which is a public record, is I was hired by the state of Ohio to conduct an independent investigation of the Ohio Treasurer's Office. The report which I tendered is available publicly.
Okay.
If you'd like another example, I was hired by Cuyahoga County as special counsel to defend the county in a Section 1983 action brought by a former death row inmate.
When you were hired by the state to work to examine the treasurer, if you will, when was that about? What year, approximately?
It concerned the treasurer's office under the administration of Kevin Boyce, and some of you may know from the media the issues surrounding the deputy treasurer, Amir Ahmad. That was the time frame we were focused on.
I see. Yeah, I sort of recall some of that. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. President,
Sir.
my vote here will be based on the county prosecutor's recommendation that independent counsel is needed here.
Very good. All right. Thank you all for your input. If there's nothing further, Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Young,
Yes.
Commissioner Plechnik,
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes. Thank you.
In the Finance Department, resolution approving payment of bills as listed on the Commissioner's Approval Journal in the amount of $2,412,341.02.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Young,
Yes.
Commissioner Plechnik,
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Resolution approving purchase orders as listed on the Commissioner's Purchase Order Approval Journal in the amount of $2,066,563.64.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Young,
Yes.
Commissioner Plechnik,
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Resolution increasing appropriations through various non-general fund accounts.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Young,
Yes.
Commissioner Plechnik,
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Resolution transferring cash and appropriations within various general and non-general fund accounts.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Young,
Yes.
Commissioner Pletchner.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes. Very good. This moves us now to our departmental reports portion of our meeting. Utilities, Randy.
Thank you, Commissioner. Lake County Department of Utilities is exciting to announce that we're going to have a hiring event next Wednesday, April 13th from 10 o'clock to 1 o'clock at our training center out on Blaze Nemeth Road. You can find information on our website. There's also, you can complete an application on the website. The link to the form is on our website if you scroll down to the very bottom of the page. It's also links on Facebook to get information about the event. We're hiring supervisors, technical positions, entry level, all the way down to seasonal positions for this year. So we welcome anyone to come in. We will have managers and supervisors available on site to do on-site interviews. If you bring in your resume and the application, we'd really like to see a lot of people come in. Take advantage of that.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. Anything for Randy?
Mr. President, I would just add my excitement to the first ever job fair for the Lake County Department of Utilities. I believe the county government has been a very good place, a very empowering place for people to work and to build their careers. And so this is a real opportunity for Lake County residents and even folks outside Lake County to start the next chapter in their careers here. We want to welcome everyone to the team. And I'm personally going to attend because I'm so excited to see the new members of Lake County's Department of Utilities, because I'm confident you're going to have a lot of success in welcoming new folks to your team, Randy.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Very good. All right, Job and Family Services, Suzanne.
Good morning, Commissioners. I just wanted to join in on the excitement for the hiring event next Wednesday, April 13th for the Department of Utilities. Our staff members from the Ohio Means Job Lake County Career Center will be at the event to provide their support. Also, next Wednesday, April 13th, is Wear Blue to Work Day. I just wanted to give another reminder about that, to wear blue to show support for April being Child Abuse Prevention Month. And if you'd like to take a picture of yourselves wearing blue next week, I'll be sure to feature it in our agency-wide newsletter.
Well, we may have to think hard about that, but I'm sure Commissioner Pletcher will be persuasive.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Anything else? Very good. Thank you. All right, moving on. County Administrator Jason Boyd.
Thank you, Commissioners. I just want to take a minute or two to provide an update on a project that the Commissioners, the Port Authority, and our delegation in Columbus, notably led by Senator Serino, has been working on. And that's the Dredge Project, the Grand River Reuse Dredge Project. That for the better part of a year, we've been trying to figure out how we're going to dredge, where we're going to place the dredge material from the Grand River in Fairport Harbor. There are still significant jobs and commerce that utilize the harbor on a yearly basis. And litigation a number of years ago between governmental agencies ultimately prohibited the open lake disposal of said sediments to the point where our region, we did not have a CDF, a confined disposal facility. And that was an issue, because if we don't have an area to put the sediment, we can't dredge the river. Our barges and vessels cannot navigate the Grand River in a safe manner. We had started attacking this last summer with the Development Authority, Dave Anderson, Patrick Mahorsic, the county commissioners, our bond counsel, Amanda Gordon, on can we participate. I recall the commissioners indicating to me the economic impact that this may have on our county. We got to work. We held some meetings here with our delegation, and I will fast forward. There was a press release sent out yesterday. The Controlling Board of Ohio authorized $47 million of funds for 4 facilities across the state. $11.3 million of that is to construct a facility in Paynesville Township on the coast. I know it was an extremely intensive effort in Columbus, all the way to Governor DeWine. As I noted, the leadership of Senator Serino, I want to thank him, Senator Dolan, Representative Callender, Senator Yuko, Representative Troy, it was an exhaustive effort to get this done, and it's going to be an exciting project to watch. There's also, and not to diminish the fact that this could lead to a future trail corridor across the Lake Erie coastline from Painesville Township to Fairport Harbor Beach, both managed by the Lake Metro Parks, and their partnership down the road to make a approximately 2.5 mile connector literally on the lakefront, which will put us on the map. Speaking with our friends at the parks, the pier at Painesville Township Park, I think the number's about 50,000 folks visit that pier. To the west, Fairport Harbor Park, the lakefront park, 300,000 people. So we have 2 anchor tenants. In this project, this Dredge Project, in partnership with the parks, may ultimately allow those 2 assets to be linked, which, trust me, are going to bring thousands and thousands of people to our area, to downtown Fairport, Painesville. So this is not only an economic development issue with the dredging, but an ecotourism partnership that's going to help us in the long run. So on behalf of the county, the commissioners, the Development Authority, and our delegation, Governor DeWine, Senator Serino, and so on, I want to thank everybody for the partnership. The past 14 days have been extremely intense in partnerships and collaborations, and I just wanted to give an attaboy to everyone involved. So thank you.
Indeed, I have to echo what you're saying. It's been a pleasure working with Senator Serino. His participation has been absolutely essential in bringing this together. When he was reaching out and we were talking, he appreciates, I'm going to take a very practical, technical approach to things. When we point out that there was a state fund that was a fund in name only, we had an unfunded mandate foisted upon us, and we were scrambling amongst ourselves, figuring out how are we going to pay for this. Senator Serino stepped up. He found a way to make it work. He worked very closely with the governor's office. Governor DeWine took this very seriously and directed that this come together. And Senator Serino, I don't think his recognition in this has been fully realized. This would not have happened were it not for the efforts of Jerry Serino. I just want to make that a declaratory statement, and I hope it makes its way into the record. So. Jason, anything you want to?
No, I just, looking at the release, almost 200 jobs in that corridor, $371 million worth of commodities that come in and out of Fairport. That's nothing to take lightly. So that's exciting news. Really exciting news. The county, we had been preparing ad nauseum documentation, legal reviews. Mr. Hackman participated to assist with some of our ARPA funds, and thankfully the state and the partners realized the significance and stepped up we'll complete this project hopefully by the late summer so that dredging can occur this year.
Mr. President?
Sir.
I would like to add that perhaps the most significant vote that Mr. Serino took was actually at this dais with yourself and Commissioner Ron Young when you decided to affirmatively invest in having a government relations specialist for Lake County. And that can be a controversial decision to make. It certainly can, but I think that our government relations specialist, Brian Dirtle, was absolutely critical to have that push from day one to make sure that this was top of the mind in all of our local legislators as well as in the movers and shakers in Columbus. $11.3 million by my back pocket calculations pays for Mr. Dirtle for the next 235.416667 years. It's a very impressive return on investment, and so I want to congratulate the foresight of our previous Board of Commissioners in recognizing that a lot of federal and state money have been flowing through government, and if you do not ask, you will not receive. Lake County needed a strong voice, and by your vote, we had a strong voice that helped our legislators to see the need. At a time when supply chains are life and death, $11.3 million investment in the river and harbor networks in Lake County
it's huge for our local economy. It's huge for people who enjoy taking advantage of the Grand River just for personal enjoyment and tourism. This will make a massive difference in the quality of life and the economy of Northeast Ohio. And it took an enormous amount of people coming together to make this happen, but I want to especially thank the previous Board of Commissioners for having that foresight.
Thank you.
I'd like to echo, I appreciate those comments. You were the one of us that wasn't here then.
Correct.
But it's extremely important. Having worked in Columbus all those years, the importance of having a coordinator there, someone who knows all the players, like Brian does, Brian Dirtle, and who brings all those folks to the table, not reluctantly, because Brian knows those folks, and they know they can trust him, and he's a joy to work with. So him and Senator Serino and Representative Callender and Senator Dolan, and of course the rest of our local elected statewide delegation, state delegation, really came together on this. I would say under Brian's governmental leadership and knowing who to contact and when to contact them and how to present the issue, really won the day for us. So this is a time to rejoice.
It's a good one.
By yourself as well.
Thank you.
You played much the same role as Brian, but here on the local level.
He's been nothing short of magnificent as far as helping myself, other department heads work through various issues, concerns, funding opportunities. It's been great.
Yeah. Good to hear. Thank you.
Thank you.
Indeed, thank you. Okay, Madam Clerk.
Yes, I wanted to mention that the next commissioners meeting is going to be next Thursday, April 14th at 10 a.m.
Thank you, ma'am. Legal.
No reports, Commissioner.
Thank you, sir. Do you have any old business to come before the board? Any old business? Okay, hearing none. Moving on to new business. Any new business? Again, hearing none. All right, this brings us to our second public comment portion. Do we have anyone in the audience wishing to address the board? Sir.
Commissioner Brian Massey, 8196 Rainbow Drive. Commissioners, I have a couple things to mention to the board, make sure you're aware. First is the ARPA money, American Recovery Plan Act. I would assume that Mr. Madis is the one that's keeping a score sheet of where the money is being spent. The $22 million that we've received in 2021 and the $22 million we'll receive this year. Has there been any other significant expenditures other than the $700,000 for the East Lake replacement lights and the I guess there was an ambulance for the Board of Health. Is there any other significant ones that I'm not aware of right now?
It's a mobile vaccination van for the health district. And Jason, did you want to?
I'm sorry.
No, that's all right. I figured.
So I'm on the mic. Yeah, Mr. Massey's correct. And then the third one is the low-income, moderate-income housing assistance program, where we assist folks with roofs, hot water tanks, those sorts of things, is the other approved project. And we are evaluating future projects for the next round of funding. I think those are the three that I...
Yes, thank you.
And bond counsel.
This is true. We did hire outside legal counsel, given their level of expertise, and as they make recommendations, we bring them back to our prosecutor's office for review, and all we're asking of the prosecutors approve the form. They're giving it that blush look. Reasonable to say, sir?
Correct.
Yeah, I guess I'm in the camp of Auditor Galloway and his desire to perhaps give some of the money back directly to the taxpayers through reducing of the property taxes. He also mentioned today, I thought was a great idea about the having fiber optics, throughout the county. I've always also wondered about the water. We've got a great body of water, but I understand a lot of Lake County still using well water, so I guess overall what I'd like to see is that instead of allocating for a specific group or community, that we try to maximize the number of people that we're helping with those funds. The next item has to deal with a journal entry I received. It's regarding the Faith Andrews issue. I happened to get it through a
Before you move on to, that sounds like a real brick. Can I comment on what your ARPA first?
Oh, sure. Okay, I'm sorry. Yes, sir.
You referenced you're in agreement with Auditor Galloway about, and I believe it'd be reducing the inside millage. His suggestion was to 0. I would like to say now and for the record, my opinion then remains the same as today, and I have not had anybody bring us anything that shows that can legally be done.
Okay.
That was under the original interim final guidance. We now have final guidance. There is no indication that that is a lawful act. So to enter that into the continuous discussion, I think that needs to stop, or somebody needs to bring it to us and say, here is how it can legally be done. I grow tired of all these fanciful, excuse my passion on this, but I grow tired of fanciful suggestions that degrade our ability to effectively do our jobs.
Thank you for commenting on it.
So I appreciate that, and thank you for indulgence in getting out. Gentlemen, anything you want to add to that?
Mr. President, I would just say, well, no one would be happier than to have a new president as soon as possible than I would. It's very clear in the politics of DC today that it is not a permissive use to use ARP funding to cut taxes, and there would probably be a near immediate reaction from the Treasury Department, which enforces this, see the taxman, see the IRS, to say that this was not a lawful use of funds. We can't predict the future, and this is a one-off piece of legislation, so it's not like there are years of experience for us to look back to and say, well, what happened when Trumbull County did this? We can't say, because this is a hopefully a once-in-a-lifetime legal issue that we're navigating. But the one thing that the politicians in DC loudly and proudly said is you are not allowed to spend this on tax cuts. And so I am fairly confident that as the 11th largest county in the state, that if we were to flout the law, the Treasury Department would be knocking on the door very quickly. And as a tax professor, I say that with a good bit of authority. That said, I share the philosophy and the desire that our county auditor has, which is to always keep our taxes as low as possible, as long as possible. And while this is one-time money, so even if it could be spent on tax decreases, it really couldn't do so in the long term. But what we can do with one-time money is to look at expenses, more accurately stated, look at investments that the county was going to make anyway. And instead of raising taxes or revenues from you to pay for those needs, those statutory requirements, try to find legal ways to use the ARP money for projects that we would have had to do anyway. And we've had this discussion many times, but probably the biggest capital need, I hope the biggest capital need that we'll have in the foreseeable future will be the Public Safety Center. And we're working with our council to make sure that everything is by the book, because once again, I have little doubt that a county our size is going to be under the microscope when it comes to whether these expenditures are permissible or not. But we're fairly confident that we can apply at least $10 million of the ARP funding to the new Public Safety Center, because there's essentially a catch-all exemption that you can spend $10 million on anything. We're also hopeful we might be able to pay for various systems in the Public Safety Center, such as HVAC, which are explicitly permitted in the final guidance by the Treasury Department. So if we can make those investments in long-term assets that will be here, I like to look at it as taking the money that the politicians in DC stole from our grandkids and give it back to them by making investments that will actually be there when they're born and alive and tax-paying citizens of Lake County. And so I think the real challenge that we have, given that we pretty clearly are not allowed to reduce taxes with this money, is how can we invest it in the future and give it back to the people it's been taken from.
Thank you for your input. Appreciate it, Commissioners. May I move on, Commissioner Hammond?
Yes, I just wanted to address that one thing at a time, because I didn't want the message to get muddied up there.
I understand. Thank you very much. I was going to mention, I'll just mention about the FBI. I think I mentioned publicly that the FBI was knocking on my door. I did meet with them, and they basically said someone saw me in the administration building, so they wanted to talk to me. So I said, so I had to spend $1,500 on legal fees because somebody in Lake County Administration Building saw me in the administration building. I said, that seems a little unfair to me. I'll fast forward to the very end of the meeting. The FBI told me, Mr. Massey, we agree completely with your transparency is needed for good governance, and we wish there were more like you throughout the state. The journal entry I received from a Democratic source. It's the journal entry from the judges dealing with the Faith Andrews issue.
Journal entry or journal entry draft?
This says journal entry. I don't know what you'd really call it.
I'm looking to legal counsel. I am not aware of there being any journal entries.
I don't know what Mr. Massey's holding specifically, but there was a document given to Ms. Andrews, Clerk of Courts, and it is styled as a journal entry, and it is not yet filed, but clearly it is a public record.
But there is a distinction between a public record and a journal entry. Am I correct in that understanding?
The courts speak through their docket, and so that being the case, yes, this is an unfiled judgment entry or journal entry, and until it's filed, no action per se can be taken on it.
Thank you, sir.
I'm just responding to what I was given, from a source, and full disclosure, Faith Andrews is a very close friend of mine, and I never abandon friends. This journal entry, as I read it, is a gag order that prevents Ms. Andrews from saying anything or any whistleblower activity. I just want the judges to know and the prosecutor's office to know I already know everything, and I'm going to pull back the curtain. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, anyone else wishing to address the board? Anyone else at all? Very good. Okay, we do have a request for an executive session. There will be no business to be conducted afterward. The topics that are on the agenda are real estate acquisition. That will take place. The request for personal discipline has been deemed no longer needed, but since we did publish the agenda, I did want to acknowledge that. So we will only be meeting in executive session for the purpose of real estate acquisition. There will be, again, no business to be conducted afterwards. Do I have a motion to adjourn for the reason so stated? So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Young?
Yes.
Commissioner Plechnik?
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck?
Yes, thank you. Thank you for joining us today.